I really think it's an interesting thing, right? I hear it a lot, whether it's professional athletes, high performers, just people in their normal day. Am I in my flow? Do I have flow? This flow word gets thrown around there a lot. So I wanted to really, break it down for all of you to know what it's about, know what it is, go to some studies. I'm going to pull from some studies. I'm going to pull from Stephen Kotler, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, Yale, tough name to pronounce. Maybe be in flow to pronounce that name. But let's first start with what flow is, because I think it's so much more than just the, in the zone, the high performance that people might attribute it to. And flow is essentially, it's a gateway to adventure. It's a gateway to adventure and joy. Flow is the ultimate state of being. It's an effortless connection to a higher purpose and a deeper joy. Let that sink in. Flow is an ultimate state of being, an effortless connection to a higher purpose and a deeper joy. Oh, it's the calling to adventure where life becomes more than just movement. It becomes meaning. So what that means is we're not just going through the motions. We're not just, on this mundane, you know, just hamster wheel of life. It's an adventure. It's a calling to adventure. It becomes more than just the movement, the everyday movement. It is a meaning. Flow allows us to align with a higher power, seamlessly living out our purpose with, here's the key, effortless effort. Effortless effort. You're going to hear me say that a lot. That is what flow is. Flow is calling and conscious to adventure. Flow is a dance with the now. Run that one back. Flow is a dance with the now. Its life's bounty is in flow. That's where it's found. Life's bounty is found in flow. Flow is mastery. Flow is ultimately perfect love. So I embarked on this flow state journey to find out how to tap into flow state more regularly and stay in it longer, because it's just kind of been one of these things that I've been fascinated with over the years of training professional athletes. And I'll ask them, like some of the highest level athletes, it's Michael Chandler, MMA, or a multitude of NBA players, Allison Felix, gold medal track. And I'll just say, hey, you know what? Like, how did you get into flow? Because they'll tell me, they're like, yeah, I was in flow. I was just feeling it. Like Mike Chandler said, hey, I saw his feet moving before they moved. I knew where to swing. Or basketball players said, I wasn't even thinking. I was just free. Every shot was going in. I was in the flow state. Allison Felix said she was in it 3 times. She remembers 3 times in her life. I asked them all how they got there, and every one of their answer was, yeah, I don't know. How is that possible? How can nobody know actually a way to tap into flow state more regularly and stay in it longer? Now, I know there's this novel effect where it's not going to be something that you can always be in. And I know some people will say flow is not a thing. It just is. That's not a good answer. It actually is a thing. You can study it in the brain, is what I and Rachel Lambert are doing with the flow code study. We are studying the different brain waves, the beta, theta, gamma, delta, alpha waves, and how to uptrain and downtrain adrenaline and regulation in these 2 different types of studies. So we're currently in this really, really cool IRB scientifically approved study that will come out later this year with results for how to tap in more regularly and stay in longer. That's, you're going to hear me continue to say that theme. That's kind of the key here. So let's jump into some studies and see what flow, what's out there right now on flow state. So this study is the role of locus coeruleus in attention and arousal by Gary Aston Jones and Jonathan D. Cohen, published in Progress in Brain Research 2005. So what they found is locus coeruleus, the LC, is a primary source for norepinephrine in the brain and plays a crucial role in modulating attention, arousal, and behavioral flexibility. Now, what am I saying? That is kind of what, how to focus. That's where the focus part of the flow is. Found that attention regulation, the study discusses how the LC, locus coeruleus, the system influences attention by modulating signal to noise ratios and neural processing, thereby affecting sensory perception and cognitive performance. Just a really fancy way of saying your senses are attached to your cognitive thoughts and performance. Did they find anything on flow? No, not really. Just kind of showing where it was in the brain and the LC, the locus coeruleus nucleus in the brain stem is where a lot of this focus and flow takes place. It's got more of a scientific aspect there, right? All right, I'll jump into another one. And this study is published in Psychologia. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. It's titled Creative Flow as Optimized Processing. Now, this was a group of jazz professionalists, and they were experts and non-expert musicians. It took place at Drexel University Creative Research Lab, examining these jazz guitarists of varying experience levels as they improvise to understand how to experience the brain activity that contributes to the flow experience. Huh. This is one of the most, like when they say flow state research projects done, this is one of the leading ones out there. So here's what they found: the expertise and flow. Highly experienced musicians reported more frequent and intense flow experiences compared to their less experienced counterparts. This suggests that extensive practice and familiarity with the task enhances the likelihood of entering flow state. I think that's pretty obvious, right? That's assumed. They call it the 10,000 hours rule, but I would highly push back at that. I think it's 10,000 iterations of high performance aspects, high performance skills. And you could be in the gym, for example, a basketball player, and I've seen it many times, and they put up 10,000 hours, but they're just going through the motions. They're not shooting correctly. Like, that's not going to bring mastery. That's not going to help you get into flow state. 10,000 iterations. Iterations meaning the expertise in each repetition. Iterations, the expertise in each repetition to build the myelin in the brain, which is the muscle memory. So the other thing they found is talked about brain activity during flow. So the EEG recordings, this is the brain map, you take QEEGs, the recordings revealed that high flow states were associated with increased activity in the brain's auditory and tactile regions, which are essential for musical performance. Concurrently, there was decreased activity in the superior frontal gyri, an area linked to executive control and conscious oversight. So this pattern supports the concept of transient hyperfrontality, where reduced conscious control facilitates more automatic and intuitive processes during creative activities. Once again, I think that's kind of telling us what we already know. When you get into flow state, you're not thinking in executive control. You're more of the, letting the subconscious take over the conscious. And that's what that's showing here. The conscious uh, facilitates more automatic and intuitive processes during creative activities, or the subconscious, sorry, reduced conscious. They also found the role of the default mode network, known as the DMN. So, in experienced musicians, high flow I am just struggling. Improvisations corresponded with reduced activity in certain nodes of the DMN. The DMN is a network typically active during mind wandering and just basically thinking, creative thinking. This reduction implies that for experts, achieving flow involves minimizing self focused thoughts, allowing for deeper immersion in the task. Once again, I would contend this is one we already know, where if you're focused too hard on something, you will not allow for a deeper immersion. You have to let your brain be free. You have to be free. And a lot of times when, working with professional athletes, when they have their best games, what they will say is, hey, I just played free. I didn't have any thoughts. I didn't have any worries. I wasn't thinking of expectations. I didn't have any of these things weighing down on me. And I've been very observant in watching kids. I think this is something we can all learn from. If you watch a kid, I was watching my nephew, and he just was locked in on this show. I think it was called Bluey. It's probably a popular one. You guys are all making fun of me right now, but Bluey, and he was just in the zone, like literally could not reach him. He was locked in, not moving, so focused for hours. was like, how do you do that? But what kids have that adults don't have is they don't have these type of all these worries, thoughts, expectations, things running through the mind that they have to do, this overwhelmed feeling. They're just present. They're just there. They're just being. And that's what being free is. And that's when you reach your highest level of performance, when you can just be free. So, with athletes, professional NBA basketball players that I work with, I mean, that's one of the keys that I tell them, play free, have fun and play free is usually the last thing that I text them before they go into the game. Have fun and play free.